is the Diary of a Lady Band Director podcast, brought to you by the Passion Is Network.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can see you. You got the black screen, but you got the logo up, so you good. Let's add you to. Yeah, you're there, but you're not there. Your camera on, sis? This is one of them weekends, boy. We gonna talk
Speaking of weekends, we had a time last night. We had a time. No, I've recovered from homecoming, I think.
You think, Lauren? We are recovering from homecoming.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so we can't see you, but
y'all can't see me.
No, well, we can hear you. We can hear your sweet voice.
Oh my gosh.
Dang, the spirit of Quan done hit Diary of a Lady Band Director. The spirit of Quan and all the tech issues. Listen, we are in the hurt locker, sis. We are hurt. Not for the reasons, I think, let me be real. Not for the reasons that people gonna be like, oh, y'all hungover. No, it was just a long day. So if you don't know and you just like tuning in, and you can see the bags in my eyes because there was not enough makeup that was gonna be able to help these bags. It was Morgan State's homecoming. It's our 20th anniversary. You know, Kappa. We here in spirit. That's a long story. It's a long, hot ghetto mess story. But there you go. Yay! It's a family affair. But in the spirit of HBCU homecomings, our start time was really, really early because one, we had some situations happen on campus. Let's be real. We know at our HBCUs and college in general, you know, like athletics just brings the worst out of people sometimes. It brings the best, brings the family environment, and we had a plethora of the family welcome back home, you know, all that pride that our HBCUs are supposed to have. So one, I was a judge for the first time in my life for the parade. I was a homecoming judge for the high school band competition. It was real strange because there's a lot of transitions happening in HBCU. So one, my call time was like 6:30, and I live across town, so that already just to have to be there that early. Normally, I would have been there. I would have been at my school that early, like preparing a band. But that's not what I'm doing right now. You know, I'm doing my college thing. But I found myself as a homecoming judge. So the call time was early, which was, you know, cool. But that's just a long day. Like anybody who have bands that have to participate in like homecoming activities, whether it's your college band or even if it's like your program, that's a long day. And I misjudged, I think, because I thought I didn't have a band. Normally my band would be the first slot band in the parade. But I've handed over those, you know, those reins to a former student and one of my little brothers, you know, in music. So they're both alum of the program, so they're running it. But the strangest thing was adjudicating my own band program or former program. That was a little emotionally, it was weird, but it was weird because I was like, I didn't see myself in that type of spot for another 20 years. Like, I feel like, I don't know, we look at our, like, the GOATs and the OGs of the band director world, and we still feel like kids when we look at them. Like, I know I still feel like a kid when I look at my college band director or my high school band director. I still feel like a kid. They just instantly put you in. They just make you remember you were young once, and you feel young when you're in their presence. So yesterday was surreal because my college band director retired this school year, and he was the grand marshal for the parade. So he's on the observation booth. The university president, me, another Phi Mu Alpha brother is now the presider of the homecoming events, and he's young, and I'm looking like, this ain't where I belong. What? It was strange. And, we were all talking about that transition while we were waiting for, the parade to kick off, with like how it feels to be young sitting up there. And then for the people who they retired out, the homecoming officials, they're just passing the torch to us. And it was very strange. It was very strange. In a good way, though, because it's the changing of the tides. I just never thought I would be a part of that. I just always saw myself kind of in that. I don't know how that feels. Anshel, you got any suggestions for me? Because this is a new space. I don't know how I feel about it.
I know a little bit about how you feel, but the program that I got to watch, I've been gone for like 5 years. So to watch them and hang out with them, it was the high school's homecoming. And what was so funny is my former student, he's the head band director now. So it was just cool to see some of the same things that they were doing that they were doing when I was there, and that they're still doing it. And he's bringing the band program back. He's doing a really awesome job. So I don't know. That was the same thing I told them last week. I was like, it's weird. I don't have to be here, but I'm having fun being here. Like, I'm not working, but I'm with y'all. So I had good critiques for him. He's doing a good job. So it was a different experience, but I guess it comes with, stepping away from the podium and watching someone else take the reins.
Yeah. I just thought that it wasn't going to happen so soon. I don't know. I thought I'd be like, I don't know. I've been directors. I don't know. I love them, but they were old to us. Do you feel like that? They were old, and I don't feel old.
Yeah, I think they were in their 50s.
No, well, with me, it was different because my band director, my undergrad band director, who ironically now is my grad band director, he was like in his late 20s, early 30s. And he's just coming into Morgan. He's in his mid 40s. So, I didn't have, and all of them were young. I had a band director and 2 assistants. All of them were young. I don't think anybody was more than 10 years older than me. So yeah, in high school, my band directors were older, but my band director was older, but yeah, and all 3 of them still look like they're in their prime. That's the cool thing about being our generation, man. And like Generation X and stuff, and Generation and Millennials and Gen Z, we still look, we still look young at our ages. But yeah, I still look at him. He like my dad, my band director. So yeah, it's just I haven't made it to that other side yet because it's like I graduated and made it to the other side, and now I'm back being his student, which is a little bit weird. So I'm having that unique situation going on with me. But being on the other side is a little bit different. I would say it's special because you keep everything going, but it is different.
And I guess this is like a good segue into this topic, because I just never thought I'm gonna be honest. I was real like fiery when I first got out of grad school, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to college. And then it didn't happen. So I was like, okay, being like in public school, like really okay with it for a long time. And then only recently, like the pandemic reset, like, hey, you know, you remember you got those degrees to go to the next level, right? What are you doing with that? And then the opportunity came and I said, oh, here's the opportunity. By then I was really settled in being a high school band director. Like I had it figured out. Like I'm being honest, like I felt, I don't know, Ms. Davis, you understand where you know you got you got it figured out. And then you go do something different and you get to see the insides of something that you never quite knew about. So thanks to Lauren for this title. It's complicated because I was fighting on the title, the band versus the music department. And I hate saying versus the music department, but let's be real. At our HBCUs, from our experience, sometimes it's like the band versus the music department. So, you know, that's just where we are with this topic. It's not saying we think that it's like that everywhere. Let me put the disclaimers out there, but it definitely has that feel. And Ms. Davis got to go, so I'm gonna kick it off with the meat question. I tried to put the meat at the front. So before I start, let me do my my Luke thing. I don't have a voice like him. I don't even like my voice when I talk. So here it is. Welcome to the Diary of a Lady Band Director, the only all-woman podcast on the air that talks about everything band and music education from the viewpoint of a woman. Woohoo! Yay us. As usual, we love sharing the stage with our dedicated viewers to gain more insight and encourage dialogue throughout. So if you want to share your insight, mic up, use the link that will be pinned in the comment section, and always keep it respectful and understand that we are only giving our perspective. And please respect that if you would share your perspective at the same time. So without further ado, welcome to Diary of a Lady Band Director, episode 18. It's complicated. And the first question is, do you think the demands of the performing ensemble negatively impacts music major engagement in the music department? And I'm gonna put that in the chat, just in case somebody want to have some say on that. And I'm gonna push it to you, Miss Davis, because you the one that you got prior engagements, but you know, go and kick us off.
Yeah, the reason why I was like, I so wanted to share on this topic because I actually thought that Southern University, which is where I went undergrad, was the only campus that had that separation, because we have a band room, well, the Department of Bands, which that was Dr. Greg's island. And then right across the little driveway is the music department. I was like, why is it separate? You know, it was so weird to me because I grew up in Louisiana, but because I was in the military, I was always all over the place. So I wasn't really familiar with how Southern was set up. So when I started as a music major, I thought it was so weird because I'm like, why is the music department over here and the band department over here? Like, aren't we supposed to be together? But we never were. But as far as the performance groups, when it comes to the marching band, it depends on who the music instructors are. Some music instructors are so into themselves that they will not, work with the students that are in the marching band or the concert band in the band department. Because we did have our brass ensemble in the music department. So the ensembles were under wherever the faculty member was. If they were in band, they belonged to the band department. If they were in the music department, they belonged to the music department. So like chorus, the brass ensemble, the jazz ensemble, all of that fell under the umbrella of the music department. And in the beginning, I didn't have an issue because I was only doing the music department side. And of course, I did concert band in the spring. But at the time, concert band wasn't as moving as the marching band. At marching band, they have stuff. They're doing stuff all the time, all through the fall, sometimes through the year. But concert band, we just had our graduation and concert. But I see this with my son, who is now currently a student at Southern University. And so, with the band being more prevalent and more, active, he's a music major, and he has shared some stories where the instructors will, take off for him being absent because he has a gig with the marching band. And I'm just like, but you're a music major. Shouldn't they be working together? And that's what I don't like. Like, they should, it's just like when I'm, as a high school band director, I'm going to work with ROTC. If I have kids in ROTC, I'm not going to make the kids decide, even though these are young adults. They still have to go by their instructors. And I hate that he gets dock points, because I'm like, what you doing with a D? Oh, I missed one of my classes because the band had something. And I'm like, what? No, that shouldn't be happening. I just wish that in that situation they could work something out for the student to benefit the student. The student is on a band scholarship, so if that student doesn't go to that performance, who's to say he may lose his scholarship? And again, this band student is a music major, so I don't know. It's like they make it difficult for the students to decide. But my child is such a band head; he's gonna go on over there with band. But I tell him, please communicate with your music teacher so they can
And he's a music major, right? So I'm glad you said that, because I'm like you. I didn't know that well, one, it's not really separated at Morgan. I don't want to say that. That's what I can talk about. It's not separated at all. As a matter of fact, it was pretty much, they did have like a working relationship. Like, we never got docked for performances. Ever got docked for, like, there was always a letter with university letterhead on it. We were pre-internet, like, I mean, we had email, but it wasn't like that. But there was always a pre-printed document or email that went out with the list of participants, and please allow students to make up work. It was our expectation, though, that we got our work in advance, and that was communicated to us music majors, that we did need to do those proactive things. But it wasn't separated. But I'll say, I'm from the Dr. Carter era, and I don't always feel like Dr. Carter and Professor Miles clicked. They respected each other, certainly, but they were. I think that's just kind of that dynamic where the choir director is the department chair, and then the band director is not. So, of course, the choir director is going to make sure that things run in their favor, so to speak, like even with class excuses. But I don't recall ever having professors that felt that would not take our word for it. Like, we even had professors that say, oh, that's right, the band has this to do. Okay, y'all need to come and get your work early, or it will be something like that. But it was never like, I'm just gonna go ahead and put that D Daddy. See, I used it good today. I'm gonna put that D Daddy in there and just let you fail. Like, or we were covered. And I would say that I would assume it stayed that way. We were covered, but that bothers me.
Well, when I was in school, I know we had one dean, and I didn't really get to know, and then we had this lady, and then she moved, and then we had Mr. White. And Mr. White, because he was the Phi Mu Alpha sponsor. So most of the guys that was in Phi Mu Alpha were in marching band. And so, I guess because they had the relationship, he understood what they had going on. And of course, with jazz ensemble, because the jazz ensemble at that time was always on the road with Mr. Baptiste. So it was just, basically when I was there, the students had relationships with these instructors. But I think it's a lot better because, I did have to educate my son. Like, you got to communicate. You can't assume that they're just going to say, oh, yeah, you were at the band. Because if they don't know you like that, they don't know. So I think having that conversation with him as well made it better But I just wish, somebody had mentioned it to them as students. Hey guys, this is what needs to happen, because he,
He's young. He don't know. Like that's real. Like I was on a Zoom meeting with the Association of Black Women Band Directors, and we were talking about, like, I was talking about my students at UMBC are young. They're 18 and 19. They don't know nothing.
sometimes
They
17.
yeah, if they right.
Mhm.
So they don't know. Like I was one of those people who came to college. He was 17. He didn't turn 18 until, like, they're babies. They don't know anything. They were just in somebody's house who was paying all the bills for them. Like they don't know. So yeah, that negative impact on grades, that's disheartening, because that does affect like how the music department looks like. If you have a D in music, your degree classes is not a good look. And nobody knows it's because you're traveling. Like, the Morgan State World Renowned Choir was out of the country every other week. But their professors did work. Oh, go Lauren.
So I have so many feelings about this question, because it's interesting, because I went to two HBCUs in their music programs. So I have different views on this question. Should it negatively impact music majors' engagement in their music department? Absolutely not. Because Krystal was just mentioning their major class. Well, band is a major class for music majors. So
Right.
why would traveling with the band, why should traveling with the band negatively impact other classes, especially if they're going to their classes every day, if they're turning in their work? I've had their music professors at NCC's music department who had like a personal vendetta against marching band students, did not like band students, and always had it out for them. Now, I will say on the flip side, this same professor, when I did their work, they didn't say anything to me. So, it's all about students staying on top of their work and doing what they need to do. Now, as far as the private lessons, my clarinet teacher, she dug into me one time because she told me that she dug into me for switching to euphonium. I did switch to euphonium in marching band, and that's not my primary instrument. Now I'm older, I understand why she dug into me. Secondly, I joined Zeta Phi Beta, TBS, and SAI respectively. And she said the sororities were a distraction to me. She said that, and she was absolutely right. So we love our music organizations, but without the music, they wouldn't be there. So you have to focus on your classes. What I did think was unfair was, the jazz department, we have one of the best jazz programs in the US, and they, just like Krystal was talking about Dr. Carter and Morgan's choir, they travel every other week. So did our jazz band. They were all over. Our vocal jazz ensemble even won a Grammy. So, it's unfair to not take from them. But when the marching band goes places, and we were traveling, we were up there too, getting requests from people and traveling. Even when Mr. Reed, who's now Dr. Reed at Morgan, whenever he sent a letterhead and went to the entire university to excuse us, we still got docked for missing a class. There was one time we went to Southern University in 2006, got our faces blown out in shell, and we were on our way back to Durham, and one of our buses broke down in Alabama. So that 12-hour trip turned into a 24-hour trip. It was, it was bad. And I had to go to my room. We got back at 6 a.m. that Monday. I had to turn around and go to class.
Right.
Yeah, after a long trip that, that we had to do for the kid, for the school. We had to support our football team, but then, I knew if I didn't go to class, the professor wasn't going to excuse it. So that's a lot of that's a lot of pressure on these students. It shows responsibility and time management, but also we need to teach students what to do, how to communicate when something seems unfair,
Right.
And sometimes it's complaining, but other times it's not. It's just all about fairness. Talk to, the department chair, talk to the dean. And it's unfair to the students that sometimes, band staff and the rest of the music department be beefing with each other. That's not fair to them. So look, we got to talk about that too.
Don't go there yet. That's a question.
I was gonna say, my whole time at Southern, I never saw Dr. Griggs in the music building. Now I never saw any music instructors in the band building. Like,
look, and
separate world.
And I wanted to respond what you said about that, and show how the music building was, how the band building was separate from the music department. Because, okay, so at NCCU, the band was in the basement at the bottom of the music building. That's where the band started. But then when the band started growing, we had to use the jazz band room, the new jazz band room, and wait for the jazz band to leave at 3:50. Sometimes they go over and we have to wait for them because that was their room, and do that and have practice there. But then the school decided to make us a band room, but the band room is pretty interesting where it is because it's right behind the stadium. So the band wouldn't have to go far. Like, it was the former women's swimming pool, and they turned that into a band room for us. So the band room is completely separate from the music department. And I remember my band director, Reed, the reason why he likes Murphy Fine Arts Center, Krystal, is because I remember him complaining at undergrad one time saying, why is the theater department's in one building, the dance department's in the other building, the music department is in two different buildings. We should all be in one building. And at Morgan State, going to them, they have everything in one building, even the art department. So that's how I think if everything was the arts were under one building, it would be more cooperation, in my opinion. It would be a better understanding and more cooperation, because Dr. Griggs didn't have to see them and they didn't have to see him. So there were there was no conversation about what the band is doing, and I feel like, with Southern being as famous as they are, I feel like, professors were harder on y'all just because of that. Because professors think y'all use the band as an excuse to get out of work. And a lot of times they're not using an excuse to get out of work. It's just that, you have to give them a chance to say, okay, like, give them either another deadline or let them know, hey, you still got to turn this in. Kind of double down on your work without, automatically failing them.
Right.
Yeah.
This is all crazy to me. Because I know I belong to the sucky miac. I'm gonna say I know the narrative. I know whatever I say, but everybody respects the arts holistically. Like, people, we have a few transplants now. We have quite a few Jutes in the school system I just left, or school system. And the biggest, like, when I talk to them, they're like, this is new, this concept that when we have PD, all the arts are there. Not like band. It's not like band is separate from like choir. Like, sometimes the PD is for both and all music, and like everybody needs to know how to do this. And so it's very strange to me to hear like this kind of separatist, like, I'm over here. And we knew that Miles and Dr. Carter, they respected each other, but they kind of both type A personalities. So I think it was more that personality but we were in the same building. The choir room and the band room, old building was next door. like literally next door. And then like when choir was done rehearsing, band was started. So you had to see each other. Like there was no running away from like people in the department. And like Lauren is saying, even in the new, it's not a new building anymore. It's 20 years, almost 20 years old, but it's always gonna be new to me because I know the old building, which was not good, but it is what it is. But it's just crazy. So and she like, thank you for coming on. Like I know you got prior engagement, but it's just that it can't be good for music education majors, like morale wise, because you do end up feeling like you're choosing.
Well, I will say that the guys that were there when I was there that were music majors, it didn't do anything to our morale, but I mean, because I guess in our generation, we communicated. You know, we didn't have email, so you really had to talk to people. You know, and I think with this generation, they're so used to communicating through email that they forget. You know, hey, I need to reach out to so and so, or I need to let my teacher know. And then too, sometimes students don't even know about these performances until the wee hour of, you know, oh, hey guys, I need y'all 30 minutes. I need you to go
that part, that last minute. I think that's unfair to the students for the teachers to do that to them, because they're actually working their craft. They're majors, but they're actually doing what it is that they want to do in their careers. So yeah, and especially that, and part of being a musician is doing last minute gigs. You know, you just can't hold that over their heads. I think it's it's very unfair.
But I think we made it, you know what I'm saying? Like we'll say like when Mr. Jackson came along, I would see Mr. Jackson over in the music department. It was you saw more camaraderie. I don't know about now because I haven't been down there as much. But like, you know, we would go practice. I would see the students like from camp would go practice in the music building, or you know, vice versa. They even let band have an event in their fine arts performance area for the high school band camp. So I mean, it got better over the years. Like I said, it's all about who's in place. You know, Mr. Jackson, he's a music major too. He went there, so he didn't mind going over to the music building. But I guess when Dr. Greggs was coming up, the band building was his, and the music building was whoever was in charge over there. He didn't go too much over there, and I very seldom saw them over in the even our fraternities and sororities, like the Mu Phi Epsilon was there when I was at Southern. We wouldn't see them in the music building, you know. we would see our symphonians, but they would do all their symphonian stuff over in the music building. And same thing with KK Side. KK Side would do all their stuff in the band building, but you would never see them going over and stepping in the music building, you know. So that was just the way things were for us.
That's just crazy to me. I mean, you're giving me a lot of insight, because I don't know what it's like somewhere else. I only have my experiences, but that's what we're here for, is like the share. Like I just think it would be very odd. Like I'm in SAI. Lauren's in SAI. I can't imagine not seeing my sisters. Like, I mean, we would just run it. Like, we would just run. We were in proximity, so I think that helped the music.
You could see them like if you walk out the front door of the band building.
No. We like I could be in the choir room and like just chilling. Like real talk, Dr. Carter. One day, the band brothers, I don't know, the Symphonian band brothers got out. We got out early. I don't know why, because normally we don't, but we were out enough time to fool around a little bit. And they were mostly music majors. So they just wandered in the choir room one day. He put them on the riser and gave them Magnificat and berated the choir about their sight singing skills, because the band brothers were sight reading that joint like they were vocal majors. they were singing that Magnificat Daddy like they belong, and he berated them. But he was a symphonian from Juilliard, so he was on a whole nother level of musicianship, which is why the Morgan Choir was so great. But we could do that. Like I could go in the choir room and in the office and like chill. And I know my letters kind of gave me a little bit of that leeway. I just can't imagine not having that like camaraderie. We would study with each other. So it's I don't know. It's definitely different. But I'm sad to hear that your son, he kind of gets, it's not his fault. It's not the student's fault. That's a lack of communication on the faculty and staff fault.
Yeah.
That's not that should be a letter. That's just easy to me. But I know you gotta go.
He learned. He knows better now. Because I gave him the insight. So
Yeah, but that's above his pay grade. That's the people.
Yeah, that's true.
That's above his pay grade. Like, yes, we want our college students to communicate, and I'm still teaching mine. Like, hey, send me a message. Like, I'm techie. Send me a message on the band that reminds something. Don't just not show up. But at the same time, we still are teachers on the university level. That's what I wanted to say. We're still educators, and we still have to teach kids like, hey, take this letter. Like I think about the basketball championship always happened during midterms in the spring. And we had to like take that letter, but the expectation was whatever you got to get done, the midterms, you're going to have to take them early. There is no take them after spring break. Take them early and be responsible. But we were told that's what we needed to do versus just leaving it up to a who eating ramen noodles every night. That's I don't know.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm gonna put the second question. I have some more thoughts on with private lessons because that's a whole different monster with music education, but it's gonna be covered in like the next question. But this one is here. This one right here. The question is, do ensemble directors prepare all music majors for success in their field? And when I say in their field, whatever field that's going to be, because I know sometimes at HBCUs, we think everybody is there to be a band director. And we not always there to be a band director. Some of us are performance majors. And being in the band ain't going to help us solo. Or be a soloist. I mean, it's a group effort. I don't know. What you think, Anshel, before you go?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was the direction I was going to go into as far as preparing them to be band directors because that's something that I really want to share with younger or future music educators, the things that I wasn't taught. Now, mind you, I did change my major at the last minute. I didn't want to be in education, and so I got a performance degree because I was going to go get my master's in music production. But things didn't work out that way. I needed a job, so I ended up going into education. But 25 years later, I saw that that's where God wanted me, and that's why it ended up happening that way. And so I've enjoyed it, but I was so terrified my first year because there was a lot of things that I didn't get, while I was in school as an education major. So I guess it depends on the school that you're going to, but I will say I know that a lot of schools don't do enough. Like you got to teach them how to what it takes to fundraise, like what goes into setting up a band program. How do you fill out proposals to solicit funds for new?
I think that Maya, I agree right there. I agree because
we didn't know how to do that stuff, and I know it now, but I've been in so many programs, graduate programs that I know this. But as a student or a graduate with just a bachelor's, I didn't know how to talk to a school board, or I didn't know where to go to fill out a grant, write a grant. No, I just didn't know how to do those types of things. I didn't
Not
write.
at all.
But those are the kinds of things I think students need to know, because a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And your program may not be perfect, and you need to know how to go out there and get the help that is available, and for your program. And yeah, I know they have Pieware. So some students are learning how to do drills, what have you, as far as being a band director. But like social emotional learning, what do they teach them on that now? Because that's big in our school. So these kids are coming in with all these, they have no clue. Like the stuff we were talking about a couple of weeks ago with the 504 plans and the IEPs, those are things that they need to learn about. Those are, how to communicate with parents, how to deal with disgruntled coworkers.
That's what you preaching. You kind of preaching.
Conflict resolution.
Oh Lord.
Because you're not gonna like everybody you work with, but are they worth you losing your job if you like your job?
Ooh.
That's a whole nother show.
Woo. You done spat like 3 more topics in like 5 minutes. No, but it's good, sis, because you're right. What I'm gonna be honest, marching band was easy to me. And I know if I say that, some people like, yo, you wasn't. No. I can march my ass off, and memorizing music was like nothing to me because I played piano. And so it was easy to memorize. Like after the first read, I almost had it. I was even at Morgan, like I did a little clinic work with the clarinets there. After the first read, I had it because that skill was always strong with me as a musician. Forget like as a bandsman, like I came in with that skill set, memorized music, and I was very physically fit. So marching band was not difficult for me. For how many hours? But what was difficult for me was playing with expression. And I'm actually on paper a music performance major. And I didn't know how important lessons were. Like I didn't learn, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't learn how important lessons were until I got out of school and I started to try to gig a little bit. People know you by your lesson professor before your band director in the professional performance world. They don't care so much as what school you went to as they care who you studied under. And a lot of our kids don't, if they are performance majors, but they spend a lot of times performing in an ensemble, that's not really what being a performance major is going to be. It's really going to be how do you get through an audition? How do you prepare for an audition? What repertoire do you know? Like repertoire is a big, knowing styles and repertoire is big. It will make or break you. And so it's crazy that we spend a lot of times in our ensembles, but if they're a performance major, I can understand now because I was band through and through. But now older, I can understand how people would be like, I'm only doing 2 years of marching band and then I'm going to focus on my horn. Because my last year at Morgan really was my professor saying, you're not ready. And that was hard to hear. He said, and I had to give up my spring break to get ready. They was like, you can embarrass yourself or you can spend this time. But now I look back, I was like, but damn, I spent 4 years and a lot of clock hours being an ensemble. But when it came to my senior recital, I had to put that on fast forward and kind of rush prep for it, even though my professor was good. But I hear, Lauren, when you say that they told you were distracted because you are a performance major. You're a performance major and you're a performance major now.
Yes. And you don't appreciate things until you have to actually pay for them. So I had to pay for private lessons in order to start auditioning to grad school. And I was one of those. I took it seriously, but not seriously enough. Like the practicing every day, everything was, I was more of a band kid than a private lessons than a performer, a solo performer. And I needed to perform by myself more because nobody told me how to Nobody told me how to get over anxiety. I know it's a personal thing, but I still have stage fright. Um, I also realize a lot of good performers do have stage fright. Like Barbara Streisand has terrible stage fright, and she does what she does. But yeah, they also never, and not just ensemble directors, but I say the entire music department. I'm not just going to charge the ensemble directors with telling you how to be successful in the field. I didn't know that there were fields. Well, I knew, but I didn't know what other things I could do with my music degree, if that makes sense. And I talked to my clarinet instructor about it a, a few months before I auditioned for my master's program. I said, it just seemed like everything was either performance or education. And I didn't, at that point, I didn't want to be an educator. And I didn't practice enough to be a performer, to be honest. So that's how I got into arts management. And the things that Ann Shell was saying about, learning how to, and I've been saying this for a bunch of our shows, how to balance a budget, how to collect money, what to do with the money for your band program, trying to like writing grants. Nobody teaches these directors that, which is what I would like to do, how, show directors how to do those things, like me, be a consultant, because a lot of times as music majors, we aren't taught those things. We learn so much theory, we learn so much history. Yeah, that's fine and well, but you're about to go through a K through 12 program, and a lot of times you're expected to build a program. Nobody tells you how to build a program from the bottom up. Like, all that history, theory help, but all that history and stuff, and I'm saying this because I can't stand music history, God, but like, you don't deal with the socio-emotional side of the student in your education courses. Yeah, but band is a whole nother animal. Like, they need to teach them how to finesse students. Like, once you get them, and they'll be your band students for life. Like, once you're my director, especially, I've had good directors all my life, and so they're my directors forever. So once you get how, they need to teach, I guess, music majors how to win students. I also need to teach music majors that, there are other fields in music that you can go into. Not everybody's meant to be a band director. Just like I don't think everybody's meant to be called to be a preacher or a bishop or whatever. Not everybody's meant to be called to do that. Not everybody is meant to call to be a band director. Band directing is not easy. You have to get
So I hate to interrupt you. I got a question, and this is that hard question. Are people being prepared for their field? Like, we see, I mean, they get the demographics, and and they know who's a music major, they know who's a performance major. I hope they know who's a education major, they know who's a production major, they know all of these things. Like, I didn't know we had production at Morgan, I guess, because I'm seeing it in people's Facebook status. Like, I'm a music production, or I'm a production. I'm like multimedia. I'm like, okay, so what are they doing? What are they doing to prepare them for that? Because this is the hard pill. I know our marching bands bringing so much attention and money, and we need it, because I see that from the inside now. Just like me being on the observation booth, looking at my former program, I see now some things that kept us from getting first place. Like, I see it now. Not saying that they haven't changed any, but I can see those things. It's going to be really hard, as we are teaching a woke generation.
Mhm.
They're woke and
So
not bad, but they know more. They're exposed to more of what they need as an
right.
individual. So I don't know.
So
What you
I
think?
think the problem with being a music major is the everybody else's perception of it. The lack of knowledge that other people have of a music major. They think, oh, we're music majors. It's a one size fits all type of concentration to have. It's a one because, for example, you'll have they don't think that we have specialties within being a music major. There's instrumental, there's vocal, and then with the instrumental and vocal, you have people that sing classical music, you have people that sing jazz, that play jazz, you have different styles of music and performance. And with under that, you'll say on your resume that you are an instrumentalist, you have background in band, this, that, and third, but they want to hire you to be a choir director. Like, well, we want a choir. Do you think you could build a choir? Like, that's not my background. Just like, and you use this example, Krystal, so I'm going to reiterate it. You don't want a podiatrist giving you surgery.
They're not a surgeon.
Yeah. They're not a surgeon. They're a podiatrist. I'm not a singer. I play. And I think that ignorance goes across the field. If a music major is in education, if they're K through 12 or higher ed, at least in higher ed, they know that there are specialties. That's probably the only place where they recognize that. Whether they're in church, they see you musician. Oh, you're a musician. You could play in church. I'm like me. I'm not a church musician. Like that's a specialty in itself. I respect it enough not to do it. So I think it's a lack of knowledge. I think it's a general and overall ignorance of music and just in the arts itself.
Yeah, and you're right. And because I experienced that on the observation booth yesterday. Oh, we got 2 music majors up here and nobody sing because we're not singers. I was
right.
Ma'am,
she
stop
was
talking about me being a music major. That. But I'm not singing because I'm not a singer. I didn't study. You don't want me. That's not saying that I couldn't get up there and stay in pitch and sing like I'm not a singer.
Why would you want singers judging marching bands in a parade anyway?
Yeah, but that's what you're saying. That's to what you're saying. But that pass we don't get that pass as ensemble directors. We are supposed to know. We take that home. The Melvin N. Miles used to say, every now and then we be on a podium working through something in concert band. And he would say, I have to remember, I'm a music educator. He would say that in the middle of like something. And then he would proceed in putting on the hat of a educator. Well,
and I've seen that. This. Yeah, I've seen that from him.
He puts that hat on. He takes off the band director hat. And I think his biggest problem and where people didn't understand is he never forgot he was a music educator. Right. We may not have been the quote unquote best marching band, but damn it, music educators, your band directors are from there. Yeah. We are music educators through and through. We can teach a chicken how to play clarinet because we did get our department was not separated in a way that music education and being a band director didn't get merged. And I'm starting to think it got merged more than some other people, which is why I think people pay me to get advice on how to be a band director. And it's not that I'm giving advice on how to be a band director. I'm giving advice on how to be a music educator.
Yeah.
And that transcends.
See, that's the issue, because band director,
But
being the
all
music major,
ensembles
being a music educator is so much more than band directoring. And see, this is what Miles said to me in my conducting class. He said anybody could direct a band. You know, you just wave your arms in front of the band. You know, I don't know why I get that from you, Krystal. You know, but he said that, he was like, you know, anybody could direct a band, but conducting is different.
It's an art.
Because it is an art, because you have to see all the nuances, all the dynamics, all the articulations and stuff. Is not.
I mean, you can't just pull a plane down out the sky.
Yeah, it's for right. The directors are pilots. Like conductors are pilots. You're supposed to.
I'm gonna keep doing this.
Tell everybody. You're supposed to. You make the music. You interpret what the music is supposed to be. And you know, that was his lesson to me. And I lost my train of thought. But I don't think people take directors seriously.
Is they don't take directors seriously, or they don't take the education by the director seriously?
I say both.
I think they take people. I humbly disagree. I think they,
directed. And I hate I think social media kind of ruined it, because people are more showboating than directing and educating the band. So that's why I say both.
When I say, I don't know, Lauren, when I say I disagree, it's not that I disagree so much with that people don't respect it as much as I don't think they respect certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
I think they respect the showboating aspect more than they respect how you have to get a kid to understand how to interpret and play.
Yeah.
What you want to do. I don't think they are disrespectful to band directors, because I think they actually put quite a few on a pedestal. Like, are we real? And looking like you're doing something versus actually doing something are two different things. I can look just like anybody on the podium conducting with that fire. I can write an arrangement and stack it in a way that the meat and potatoes, so to speak, are there, and it fits the acceptable norm in some places as far as like what a fire arrangement is. I could do that because I can analyze anybody's score and say this is how they did it. But it's a different level when I have to make decisions on how not to be whatever the norm is. It's a different decision when I have to actually go back to my book and say, if you're going to cue them with your left hand and keep time with your right. Right. Or to crumble the paper to give a different release. Yeah. And I'm not really good. Yeah. But
that's what Reed loves to do. He got that from Jerry Junkin.
Yeah, he got it from Jerry Junkin. But see, that means you study.
Yeah.
You study. But we don't appreciate and respect studying anymore. You said it, social media might have kind of ruined it forever. Is that when we used to look at somebody and they would say they studied something, and this is not necessarily subscribing to eyes, because do that. When they sat down and they worked on a craft, you know, one of the hardest things was learning how to conduct. And they tell me, put one hand here and just wrist only, and then your fingers. Like, that's an art. That's an art. That's studying to get a different interpretation. So I don't know. We're going to have to do a part 2. We're going to have to do a part 2, and it's okay. It's okay. Because I think this discussion, this is going to be a part 2. So Jay, just know, this is gonna be a part 2, because this one.
I just came up with another thought too about this question.
Yeah, but no, we
Yeah,
can
I
talk a little
know.
bit. I don't want to do question 3 and 4 because the original question: do ensemble directors prepare all music majors for success in the field?
And
My answer is no.
I feel like some of them on that aspect, I would say no, because some feel like that's not their job. Their job is just to be directors, and that's it. But
Director of
you're
band.
absolutely right. But you're absolutely right. You're music educator.
But I can't claim you as one of my music education students if I can't prepare you to be a music education major.
Exactly.
Like I can't, I can't say who else. I can't Hazel Bandman said no, they don't. I can't claim that title if I can't show you. If I
let me
can't
tell
show you
you,
the information, I can't do it. I won't do it. Let me say
I'll
it
tell
that way.
you, I've had directors that actually cared because in undergrad, when I told Reed, the moment I told Reed that I was graduating that semester, he freaked out. He was like, "You weren't even on the podium. Lauren, I need to put you on the podium." What? You're graduating? He freaked out. And that's a sign of somebody that of a music educator trying to prepare somebody to go out into the field. So, and also things like story. I've had music educators where they talked about the background of certain pieces of music. They talked about the composer. They talked about why they wrote it. They talked about, like Granger, he didn't care about writing I guess the nuances of music in Italian or in German or French. He just wrote it in English. He wrote it the way he felt. He composed music the way he felt. And he told you exactly in English how he wanted it. So, if you would, I would say the best ensemble directors are the ones who have a lot of knowledge to give, and want to, without, because I've had directors do this too, talk about their resume on the podium. So we get a lot of that too. And that's not how. Now, resume talking is supposed to inspire people, but as soon as you talk about your resume, I'm completely turned off because I feel like I'm not learning anything. I think the best ensemble directors, you learn from them, even if you're not a music major.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're a good ensemble director, you inspire those who are not even in the field. So that's how you inspired everybody.
And that is our job as directors. Like I personally feel like it is our job to inspire a person, and we're inspiring them through music. We're educating them through music, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be a music major. But I got 20 former students in Morgan Band, almost 20. That night shocked me yesterday. I said, "Oh my God, I'm an old one," and two, they're not. None of them are music majors. So I inspired them in some way to do something else, I hope. But when we talk about, when we talk about ensemble directors preparing, as much as the music department is not exclusive, or in my opinion, should not be excluding the band director. And the band director shouldn't be excluding the music department. Because at the end of the day, the university's credentials is what keeps the band alive. Look
Right.
at Morris Brown. Let's just put that out there. Morris Brown had a monster band program, and it didn't keep them alive. And that was like my wake-up call, because I used to aspire to have like a lot of kids in band, and I did have a lot of kids in band. At least for my region, my biggest band was a 120. But man, that hurt my heart, because they had a really strong chapter of SAI, like
Right.
Phi Mu Alpha. They had a strong, and Phi Mu Alpha doesn't really thrive in a non-music focused school.
No, they don't.
They just don't. And that's not saying that anything about the organization, but that is their purpose, is to be rooted in a strong music department. And they didn't survive because credentials and money. Like, your school being credible matters. And you can't be credible just with a marching band alone. And I know somebody will fight me. And when I say credible, they may know you by your band program, but those kids are going to go into a classroom. Those kids are going to be adults in front of other students. And if they don't have the requisite amount of skills to be good, nobody give a damn what that band program looked like. That's why I'll take a slap on the cheek all day long when people talk about my college band, marching band. Oh, yeah, whatever. I've never hungered after a job. I've never not gotten the job that I wanted. I never got the never had an issue with getting the salary I wanted. And I can thank the music department in conjunction with being in the band for that. Not separated, because I certainly got some stylistic and logistical things from being in the band that I need functioning. But I also got pedagogy that is undeniable. I can teach anybody the history behind a song. I can teach them how to interpret it based off of the composer's intent. That comes from studying with people who respect the fact that you are going to have to go in front of somebody and teach. Yeah. And they don't want to look bad. So I don't know. Lamix, you got a question. What other careers can you take in music as a music major that don't include performance education or audio engineering? Plenty.
Arts management. I mean, I'm actually going for my master's in arts management, because I think that's so important for and not just, it's for anybody who has a background in music, theater, the fine arts. My clarinet instructor is downstairs somewhere. She gave me a list of majors, because I told her, I did not know of any other careers you could go into with a music degree, and there are so many. She emailed it to me, so I'm gonna pull it up now. But while I'm pulling it up, like I'm saying, I'm studying arts management, and it really gives you insight on. It's basically the business side of the arts, and you can learn anything from how to write grants for an arts organization, how to be a director of a museum, of an orchestra, of a theater, how to deal with the finances of the arts. There's a lot of how to put together a festival. But yeah, music is one of those things. Somebody said this to me, how you got to be really creative with it. Let me pull this. And careers in music PDF. I have it right here. Music performance. Okay, I'm going to share this. I wish I could share this one because it's not my podcast.
You can put the link in the. You can put the link in the YouTube chat.
It's a PDF.
If you send me the link, I'll put it there.
Yeah,
but just read them.
So
that's all we need.
Careers in music performance, opera, music theater, art song, early music, oratorio, pop, country, jazz, etc., orchestra, pit ensembles, which is for musicals, professional choir, orchestra, chorister, conductor for orchestra, band, chorus, opera, musical, theater, and film, jazz combos or bands, military band, which I feel like a lot more people should get into. If I was healthy enough, I'd do it. But orchestras, choruses, chamber music, backup singer, entertainment for cruise ships, theme parks, a jingle singer, a collaborative pianist, coach, or accompanist. So education, public schools, private schools, colleges, and universities, ethnomusicology, music theory and composition, music history, performance, technology. International schools have a private studio, which is what I want to do. Music school, arts administration, which is what I'm getting to too. And you could do it district, state, local level. This is a long list. So let me get something. Okay, advocacy in politics, NAFME, being a lobbyist or cultural attaché, or being an ambassador, working in an embassy. I think this is interesting. So, music librarian, music archivist, store or mall consultant for ambient music, publication, music publisher, music critic, editor, parts reproduction. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with your music degree. So,
And Lauren, we don't see
yeah.
that list. We don't see that list when we register. We don't see that list when we're in our classes, when we're in our university hours. And I have a hunch why. A lot of it has to do with feeding the machine.
Yeah.
We have to feed the ensemble that brings in the most money, but we never think that the most money might come from having our students be able to do any of it. I'm in that advocacy, and I didn't know that that was a thing. I fell into it, but now I would have gone into what I'm doing. Like, what do I do every day? Lauren, what do I do? I'm an advocate, and
Right. And you start in one thing thinking you're gonna do something and end up in something else.
Yeah, and that's not saying that I don't ever want to be a band director. I just never thought that being an advocate could be a career. But I'm gonna be honest, the white people know. They know they could go on policy, because my first boss was she was in a nonprofit sector for music advocacy. Like, not
Yeah.
that's a sector, and it pays well. It pays well, and I didn't know. Lamix, you said you're
And
already
see,
doing it.
archives. Yeah, I just replied to him. Right. Band media are people are archivists. And see, I should have stuck. So when they were rebuilding a music library, my work study was NCCU's music library. And I literally with my two hands built the library and the shelves, and I documented everything. Like, if I didn't know then what I know now, I should have just went into being a library, being a librarian for my master's, and then like work for the Library of Congress or something, because I had that experience in undergrad. So I don't know why I didn't go with it, but
because we didn't know, Lauren. We didn't know. We didn't
right.
know. And I loved Marching Band. Not to cut you off. I loved it. I love it. I have a podcast.
I sent it to you in email, Krystal.
Okay. I'm gonna send it to Jay. But I loved it. But where I found my voice is not even in front of students being a band director, because what happened is I realized no one was advocating for the policies that were affecting me as a band director. I said, who's advocating for them to get instruments and have a schedule that is conducive to actually being able to learn how to play? We got to stop calling band directors sorry when we don't have people in the career field that will help them do their job better by getting them resources and making sure that they get the words. They lobby for guns.
Yeah. They lobby for all types of stuff.
They lobby for everything. And then when it comes to what we want to do, yeah, we should get the respect of doing it, because it is a community service. At the base of it, having performing ensembles is for community. Yeah. We perform for the community, and we don't get that respect on that alone, because we don't have the career fields. We don't have people in music majors. We don't have music majors that are in the career field to help pave the way to make that easier. Yeah. And I said, I'm going to get out of it for a second, or kind of take a detour and be a little bit of the voice, because I know what it's like to be on the podium when you don't have what you need to have.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, band media, y'all should have a major. I mean, yeah, it's me, but it could be you know what? My principal, we're going to have to go, because we're going to tabernacle on this. My principal was talking about her daughter major. And I said, how's she going? She's in theater. She's in theater, but she said at her PWI, they can make up their own major if they have enough people lobbying behind it.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard that before, but, you know, she's Black. And she said they can decide that they want to go into aeronautical basket weaving if they could get enough evidence and following behind it, which means they're going to go and do whatever it is they want to do. Now, we can argue about whether or not they make money doing it. But at the same time, our HBCUs need to be a little bit more broader about what it is that we can do with that degree.
Right. And stop saying that's that white people stuff.
Let's stop that.
Because like you said before, Krystal, if we're not at the table, we're on the table.
And we're not. I got a speaking engagement that paid me $500 for 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I watched the timer. I said, holy you know, I was up there like looking at the time, like maybe there's a catch to this. 7 minutes of speaking about music education got me $500. And I know I've maxed out a $500 credit card renting instruments for my students. I know I've maxed out a credit. I said, we missing it. So that question, are we preparing them? No. And that's unfortunate because that's what HBCUs are supposed to do. Prepare us for anything, right?
Right. And see, it's a lot of copying and pasting what our band directors did back in the day. But back in the day, it's not now. Everything. Oh, it's up. Okay. Here we go. Here's the list. I'm sorry. Let me hold my thought. So here's the list. Wait a minute. Is it clear? Okay. So yeah, it's clear here on the page. So you have categories under music performance, education, publication, advocacy and politics, music therapy, and also, by the way, Howard University has a master's in music therapy. They offer that. Other medical, music technology, composition, music business, other. Like with the music therapy thing, I was looking at that, and you know how it applied to my life was my mom was in hospice before she passed away, and they sent a music therapist in there because they knew she liked music. She played too. So that's a real life situation where you use a music therapist. They're often either in veterans hospitals or they're in hospices, you know. And you know, sometimes you have to learn psychology. It's funny because with music, when you're doing music with other things, you have to go into another field like psychology. Like you have to take some psychology courses in music therapy. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. I know with arts administration, you have to, they're like pretty much business classes for the arts. And that's fine too, because you know, sometimes if you want to be a performer, like a professional, you have to be your own manager sometimes. So that's important. You don't want to get played. You got to learn how to read documents. At American University where I'm going.
Yeah, check that contract.
I was just about to get into that. They have it's not a full class, but it's like a couple of weekends of a legal class. There's a legal class for the arts administration program. It's all about contracts and stuff. So it's really important it's not just music. You have to do music. You kind of have to do music and something else. Because when music education is music and education, it's like having two majors. So unless you're really, 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 really talented, you're going to end up doing music and something else. I would say 95% of the time. There's only a select few of people who can just thrive off of performance alone. And even those good performers, they still get private lessons because you know why? They're so good that people are willing to pay top dollar either to be like them or have their children be like them. So they have their own studios anyway. They're still teaching. just because it's more money for them, not because they really need it. It's just because it's more money. So, yeah.
And I think that's kind of like the point of this topic is that a band director was trained to be a band director. The music department came from a lot of different facilities of music.
Yeah.
Ethnomusicology. I didn't know that's really what I wanted to be. Like, I didn't know, like, studying theory alone could be a thing. I didn't know. Right now, all I do during the daytime. Now, in the afternoon, I work with Ensemble and I work with music education majors. So, you know, before people like, oh, she ain't need no band director, she don't know nothing. Shut up. But I didn't know I could just focus on music theory because that is the class that made me feel like I knew a lot. And I knew how to get people to understand it. And that's what I do. Like Monday through Friday, I teach the music majors of Northwestern High School visual performing arts. So I have band and orchestra students in my classroom. Do they bring their instrument to class? Depends on what we're working on. Who's going to teach them how to play scales? Because I'm going to be honest, I wish more high schools were like that because the band director shouldn't have to spend time on fundamental things like scales and arpeggios and stuff. That's my job, actually. That's what I do. My job is to make sure that when you go in there, you can just read the music upside down. That's my job. But I didn't know that was a thing. But only special places. But then if you go to some of our white counterpart public schools, like areas where the majority isn't us, they have class. They have classes we would never imagine. They have theory for 4 years. They have what you call it? They have specialty music classes. They have small ensemble music classes. And I didn't learn that until I had done some curriculum work on the state level. And I get the codes, course codes. And the course code says, we used to have in the state of Maryland a marching band course code. I was like, what the? So kids could actually be getting credit for marching band in high school, like credit on their transcript. They could be getting credit on the transcript for being in a small ensemble. They could be getting credit for being in music theory and music technology and composition. There are course codes for this, but when it comes to our urban school districts and money becomes the issue, they just strip us down to the bare bones. And then when we go to college, we don't know that anything exists, like Lamix asked, outside of what we taught. Band director, choir director, performance major. And let's be real.
Right.
Performance major is a joke in some cases.
I
hate to say it. It's a joke. In some cases, performance major is just like you're not a band director. But they treating you like a band director. They not allowing you to go audition for solo competitions.
Right. And that's one thing. Now, I will say this. As a performance major, I wasn't taught how to audition. I was not taught how to audition. You know, we went through repertoire. We went through the close A and the repertoire or whatever, but I wasn't taught how to audition at all. Or I wasn't, like, now that I'm at Morgan, I love my clarinet instructor. I like my clarinet instructor at NCCU, but see, the difference is that I didn't get those performance opportunities with my clarinet instructor at Morgan. She'll say, "Oh, this person's having an audition," or "Oh, this organization, they need a clarinetist with this musical. They lost their clarinetist. You know, they couldn't make the performance time. So go ahead and call these people so you can go ahead and get that spot." I never got that at NCCU, and that's all I wanted. That's what I wanted, and I just, you know, I wish another difference between Morgan and NCCU. I got to NCCU, you know, and they never asked me what I wanted to do. When I got to Morgan, I was asked by everybody, "Okay, what are your goals? Why are you here? Why do you want to do this?" You know, at NCCU, they just, you know, it was like, "Okay, I'm just another band kid." Ask your band kids what they want to do, because sometimes They don't know what they want to do. I knew what I wanted to do, but I think it's more important to ask them, those who don't know what they want to do, what they want to do, so you could tell them how to get there. Like show them the path of how to get there. Um, that's the first thing you need to do, or even to see if they're in the right major or not. Because there are a lot of my bandmates that I did not know were music majors when they first got there. I think the idea was they liked music, and when they saw what being a music major was about, they said, "Nah, that's not for me." I think that could have been preventable if had their advisors in the music department sat with them and say, "Okay, well, okay, so why are you here? What's your goal for when you want to graduate?" Those conversations need to happen at the very beginning, and not just with music majors, with every field. Need to have those conversations. I think that's where we're lacking, especially at HBCUs, that conversation is had. Um, I think at other colleges, there's an expectation that you already know, so maybe those conversations don't happen. But I think at HBCUs, because and with Black students, Black people,
we're not
still
always exposed
400, yeah, I was about to say 400 years behind. We're not, some of us are not exposed. So I charge music departments to have those conversations with those incoming freshmen and with their current students too.
Yeah, and that's not just and in the sense of, this is not to crack down on band directors. This is now putting the ball back into the music department. You got music education and you have music performance. If you're offering those two, and if you're offering even music production, there's got to be a conversation at some point about the field and do it well. Not just give the content as far as in theory, but in practice. And she'll back. Listen, we this is juicy. This is juicy. This is juicy. It's juicy. The juicy comment. I don't even care if I'm talking amongst my sisters. Let me tell you. So, Hazel Band, I saw your message. You said, I want to be clear when I say a joke. My degree is not a joke. It's certainly opened degree doors for me, period. Having a music degree opens doors as opposed to not having a degree in a lot of ways, because people respect the paper. But I think what Lauren is saying, like, because I worked with you, and I sometimes feel like our degree preparation looked a lot differently.
Yeah.
It looked a lot differently. And now people know I was a performance major. I not because I wanted to perform, but we don't have music education. So you really all are music performance majors. But not knowing how to audition, that's your degree.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's for church. I don't care if it's for a jazz ensemble. I don't care if it's for a mariachi band. I don't care if it's for an orchestra, a pit orchestra. And that's what I did when I first got out, is I was in a pit.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed being in a pit. But auditioning for a pit and auditioning for an orchestra, two different types of auditions. Ooh, child, that's audition. They're just two different types. So I don't know. Estelle, you back. She's stacking papers.
Oh Lord, yeah, like she's
she about to give us
a news person.
School us. She about to school us. It's juicy. It's juicy. I just think that I'm gonna shut up.
Mm-mm.
Being at my current school, at a high school for performing arts, where the children are Black and brown, them children are light years ahead of where I was now. Yes. Oh my God. And I ain't ashamed to say it. They can audition and eat up an audition right now. A lot, my sophomores and freshmen know repertoire. They know gear. They know what good gear is. They have great instruments. They're playing on professional model horns. So they can go in, because sometimes the audition is not even so much as whether or not you can do well. When you come in and you carrying a Selmer Bundy with the latch case as a clarinet player, they already not gonna. I don't care how great you make that Bundy sound. The person with the background with the fat boy barrel, in the
Yeah, I love
Vocalese
that
G
thingy.
series mouthpiece and the custom reeds. That kid and the Silverstein mouthpiece. See, I'm talking, and some people gonna be like, "It don't take all that." Yes, it do. You're a dummy
Yes,
if
it
you a trumpet
does.
player and don't think that if you come in there without a box strat or something comparable, they're even gonna take you seriously. So those are conversations that aren't always even remotely on the table because some of our babies are coming to college, they don't even have proper equipment to play
Or
on.
teaching our oboe players how to make reeds, things like that.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. We got a lot of drummers in college, not percussionists.
Ooh.
And some of them are performance majors. So what are we preparing them for? To get laughed at? And that's my heart. This Davis, you got the floor.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that's why it's important that all college band directors attend Midwest.
Ooh.
Or TMEA, or because they'll see what's out there and then they'll have a better idea of how to prepare their students for that type of field of music. Because like you said earlier, everyone is not going to college to be a band director. Some of them want to be performance majors, but even still, if they want to be a band director, they still should know the components of how to be a great performer, because that's what makes your band sound, like it's supposed to sound. Having performers in the band, not per se marchers. That's all I wanted to share, because it's eye opening. Like when I taught in Texas, my middle, that's a big deal. We can't just buy cheap instruments. We had to buy a top of the line because it made a difference in the sound. And their middle school bands sound like they could play grade 3 music in 7th and 8th grade. Like their region band audition pieces come out of those etude books. And I'm like, what, the kid in the 7th grade, they can't read out no etude book. Like, well, that's the audition piece.
Sis, I've auditioned. I've adjudicated for a neighboring county, and there was a 9th grader that was playing Weber's concertino for us, and I was like, oh, they worked on in college,
right?
And I was like, damn, but it's the norm. Like it's the norm that they work out them preaching,
right? And we need to step our students up to that norm, so they're not caught like shell shocked. When they start teaching.
When the adjudicator shell shock, it's a problem. I was like, oh damn. What did I do? I got my degree in this. This kid can do everything that I
was able to do in college. Right.
But I know somebody gonna be like, oh, she being bougie. Hear my heart. When I look at the brown and black children at my school, they can do it all. And they can do it all. And their teachers look like them. Their instructors look like them. And I'm like, this is the education that some of our HBCU music majors are missing. Like it's just a conversation. Like I'm going to say my private instructor just one day, well, after he berated me for my instrument, he did berate me. He was like, don't come back unless you got something that I can call an instrument, because that's not it. And it did force me to go make a decision. Like I was going to go get some J's and go on a shopping spree with my refund check. But, I was at the music store, Daddy, like I need at least an E11. He said, if I don't at least have this, it's not going to be good when I come back. And he's a great player. I'm going to be like him. So let me go readjust my life. But we're not having those hard conversations. And some kids don't have it. But he ordered mouthpieces. I never knew this was a thing. He ordered mouthpieces, a bunch of Van Doren mouthpieces, and said, we're going to try mouthpieces. And said, when you try mouthpieces, even the same mouthpiece might play differently. So we're going to order even the same one. And I got some M13 Lyres and some regular M13s, some B45s. Like, this is stuff. He had a conversation. This wasn't I don't even know if some of our adjuncts, and I'm an adjunct, our professors, some of our professors, I'm a professor, are having these conversations with the Black and brown children that they teach. Say, hey, yeah, I know y'all busy this time of year with marching band. I know you're busy with your ensemble, but one day we're gonna have to spend some time on gear, and the gear you use in the marching band can't be the gear that you use in lessons. I played on 2 separate instruments. My the clarinet instructor at my school is a former president's own. Most of them are. The Black and brown children are getting gold, but and one day a kid didn't have an instrument. He literally was like, came in one day with a professional clarinet, was like, here. Like, he literally came in like, here. And Lord will tell you, like,
I was
Santa
sitting
Claus
right next to this kid. Dr. J came in. This kid was playing on, I don't know what type of clarinet, but he was borrowing the clarinet, and Dr. J came in. He was like, okay, well, here's an E11, buffet E11 for you. It's $650 without the mouthpiece, but if you want the mouthpiece, it's going to be $750. I was like, 9th grade. But that's how they run. Like, Dr. J is their clarinet instructor. Every kid in that room has a buffet.
I back them. They have my horn. And I can talk gear with a 9th grader. And in the 9th grade, I didn't even know that was a thing. And that's
right.
Information is cheap.
They come up to me and they saw my clarinet. They said, oh, okay, how much is your bell? What type of mouthpiece you playing on? Okay, how much is that? Because their parents will buy it for them. I think that's another barrier that we have within our community. You know, our parents, they don't see that gear as important. You know, they just see, a cheap little instrument. They say, oh, okay, that's good enough for my kid. And, that it's not good enough.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand they don't invest $200 in Jordans, but didn't want to pay more than that for an instrument. Like, I found this clarinet for $95, and I'm like, did it come with gloves? That's not what you want.
Not did it come with gloves? I don't know. Are we gonna do this next question? It's 2 questions. I don't know.
2 questions? Y'all just don't.
Lord, we're gonna be here all night.
We gonna part 2 the second 2 questions because the relationship, because it's a whopper.
Sorority and fraternity fashion. I move that we table this discussion until next chapter meeting. Anyone like the second?
I'll
second. It has been properly second. See, we can do this.
Motion has properly been second.
Yeah, because the next 2 questions are just too big to even start at this point. But I think
those were some great questions.
These next 2 questions are whoppers. So go ahead and cue it up, Jay. Part 2. Does the relationship between the music department and performing ensemble really matter in developing successful music makers? Some folk, I don't know. Let me shut up. We're not answering that question. Just gonna put it up here. Because that one is a whole another night. And I'm still hurt for homecoming. But I think
I was going down the steps. I said the homecoming was leg day for me. There's all that walking. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Y'all should come join us on October 22nd at Southern University's homecoming.
Who y'all playing?
I don't even know.
Listen, she said I'm a juke, and it don't matter who we play, because I'm a juke, and we don't care about who coming to our homecoming, because they not gonna live to see the day.
Y'all swag.
They're gonna rue the day that they came to a juke stadium. If it's anything like Daddy, I would just put them out there. Them ruthless. That thing was ruthless going to A&T. They were throwing chicken bones at us, man. We had been there.
Southern was bad in 06. It was people were right
bones.
here. They told us to go back to Durham. It was it was funny.
They throwing chicken bones. And Aaron Campbell, my boy, but I told him that I was like, yo, man, I was like, are they really throwing stuff at us? Like,
well, A&T this year, they were throwing beer cans at Central's band. I said, okay,
yeah, they was throwing a little bit of everything from them stands. We just got told to don't walk near the wall.
When we were in band, when Sound Machine went to A&T, the March of Sound Machine went to A&T, they never threw anything at us because they knew it would be a fight. Like my section leader taught us to hold our mouthpieces. I played euphonium like this to have it.
Well, I don't think they realized that Morgan is in Baltimore.
Yeah,
like they didn't assess properly
with DC people in it.
Yeah, we're dealing with a bunch of yos and mo's.
Yeah, yos
and mo's. You dealing with yos and mo's. Like at any given time, we might have a former person who was from the corner that just decided to pick up an instrument to avoid the police. Like, I mean, I'm not even joking. We've had, because it's real up here. Sometimes, but we're nice people. But until the street come out. But thank you for the conversation, and I think this is gonna be a part 2 because. Yeah, we gotta have a part 2. Yes, but thank you for showing up, showing out. Right. Good night.
Good night.
Thank
lady.
You, the man behind the scenes. Jay, good night. It's 8:15. I gotta eat dinner.
Right.
Have a good evening, ladies.
Good night.
Good night.